Rule Your Thoughts: A Complete Guide to Mental Mastery, Inner Discipline, and the Life You Were Built to Live. Introduction. The battle you fight every single day. There is a war happening right now. It is not being fought on a battlefield. It is not happening in some distant country. It is happening inside your mind, at this very moment, as you read these words. Every single day, thousands of thoughts pass through your mind. Most of them you did not choose. Most of them arrive uninvited, unannounced, and unwelcome. Thoughts of doubt, thoughts of fear, thoughts of, I am not good enough, or, this is too hard, or, what if I fail? These thoughts do not knock before they enter. They simply show up and make themselves at home. And here is the terrifying truth that most people never confront. If you are not ruling your thoughts are ruling you. The ancient philosophers understood this. The great Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, Seneca, built entire philosophies around one central idea: the mind is the only thing that truly belongs to you. Everything else can be taken away, but your thoughts are yours. The question is whether you will take control of them, or whether you will let them run wild and drag you into a life of mediocrity, anxiety, and regret. This guide is about taking that control back. The 10 points of mental mastery. Point 1. Your mind is a kingdom, and you must rule it. Think about what a kingdom looks like when there is no ruler. There is chaos. There is disorder. Different factions fight for power. Nothing gets built. Nothing lasts. Resources are wasted. People suffer endlessly without direction or purpose. Now think about a kingdom with a strong, wise, disciplined ruler. There is order. There is purpose. Things get built. People thrive. The kingdom moves in one direction with power and intention behind every decision that is made. Your mind works exactly the same way. When you have no control over your thoughts, your mind becomes a kingdom in chaos. Fear rules one corner. Doubt rules another. Distraction sits on the throne and makes all the decisions. You wake up tired, go to bed anxious, and spend the hours in between reacting to whatever thought happens to be loudest at any given moment. But when you learn to rule your thoughts, everything changes. You become the king of your own mind. You decide which thoughts get your attention. You decide which beliefs you build your life on. You decide how you respond to every challenge, every setback, every temptation that life throws at you. This is not about becoming emotionless. This is not about suppressing what you feel or pretending that hard things are easy. This is about becoming so mentally strong, so internally disciplined, that nothing outside of you can permanently destroy what you have built inside of you. The kingdom of your mind is waiting for a ruler. Step up and take the throne. Claim it completely, own it fully, because if you do not rule your own mind, something else will, and it will not have your best interests at heart. Point 2. The Stoic Foundation. Control what is yours. The Stoics had a concept they called the dichotomy of control. It is perhaps the most liberating idea ever put into words. The concept is simple. There are things within your control, and there are things outside your control. Your entire life changes the moment you learn to distinguish between the two. What is within your control? Your thoughts, your judgments, your responses, your effort, your attitude, your values. These things belong entirely to you. Nobody can touch them without your permission. Nobody can take them without your surrender. What is outside your control? Other people's opinions, the economy, the weather, whether your work gets recognized, whether people like you, whether life feels fair. These things will always be partially or entirely beyond your reach, no matter how hard you try to hold them. Here is where most people destroy themselves. They pour enormous energy into trying to control the things they cannot control, while completely neglecting the things they can. They obsess over what others think of them while ignoring the quality of their own character. They rage against circumstances while refusing to examine their response to those circumstances. The Stoics said, "Stop. Bring your energy home. Pour it into the territory that is actually yours. And that territory, The only territory that truly matters is the landscape of your own mind. When you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you suddenly have an enormous amount of energy available. Energy for growth, energy for discipline, energy for becoming the person you were always capable of being. This is not passive resignation. This is the most powerful form of focus available to any human being alive. Point 3. Thought awareness. See it before it sees you. You cannot rule something you cannot see. Before you can control your thoughts, you have to become aware of them. And this is harder than it sounds, because most thoughts happen so fast and so automatically that we barely notice them before they have already shaped our mood and our behavior. Think about the last time you felt suddenly angry or anxious or defeated. Was there a thought that preceded that feeling? Almost certainly, yes. But did you catch it before it became the feeling? Probably not. That is because most people have zero gap between stimulus and response. Something happens, and they react, with no awareness of the mental process unfolding in between. The practice of thought awareness is about creating that gap. It is about slowing down the mental machinery just enough to ask, what am I actually thinking right now, and is this thought genuinely serving me? This is where simple daily stillness becomes powerful. 5 minutes of sitting quietly and watching your thoughts pass like clouds. Not judging them, not engaging with them. Just watching, just noticing, just building the muscle of observation. Over time, this practice builds something extraordinary, the ability to observe your own mind in real time. You start to catch thoughts before they become feelings. You start to notice patterns. You start to see which thoughts keep returning, uninvited, to wreak havoc on your peace and your progress. Awareness is not control, but it is the absolute prerequisite for control. You cannot change what you cannot see. And once you can truly see your thoughts for what they are, just thoughts, not facts, not commands, you have already taken the first and most important step toward ruling them completely. Point 4. The stories you tell yourself build your reality. Every thought you think is a story. And the stories you tell yourself consistently become the architecture of your reality. This is not motivational language. This is neuroscience backed by decades of research into how the human brain actually functions. Your brain has a remarkable system called the reticular activating system, which acts as a filter for reality. It decides what information reaches your conscious awareness and what gets ignored. And it calibrates itself based on what you consistently think and believe about yourself and the world around you. If you tell yourself constantly that you are unlucky, your brain starts filtering reality to find evidence of your bad luck. It highlights every setback, every disappointment, every closed door, while literally filtering out the opportunities and open windows. You are not seeing reality as it is. You are seeing a version of reality that confirms the story you are already telling yourself. The same works in reverse. When you consistently tell yourself that you are capable, that challenges are temporary, that you are growing and improving every day, your brain starts finding evidence for that story too. The same world looks completely different through a different narrative lens. This is why ruling your thoughts is not just about feeling better. It is about literally changing what you see, what you pursue, and what you attract into your existence. The person who tells themselves, I always fail at this, and the person who tells themselves, I have not figured this out yet, are not just thinking differently. They are living in functionally different realities, making different decisions, taking different actions, and building entirely different lives. What stories are you telling yourself? Examine them honestly, because they are building your world whether you are aware of it or not. Point 5. Silence the inner critic before it silences you. Every person walking this earth has an inner critic. That voice in the back of your mind that says you are not smart enough, not talented enough, not ready enough, not worthy enough. That voice that replays your failures on an endless loop while staying suspiciously quiet about everything you have done right. The inner critic is not trying to help you. It feels like it is, because it disguises itself as caution or realism. But real caution helps you prepare for genuine risks. Real realism helps you plan around actual obstacles. The inner critic just tears you down, then tears down your dreams, then tears down your belief that any of it was ever possible in the first place. Where does the inner critic come from? Usually from early experiences, from the voices of parents, teachers, peers, or culture that got internalized and then amplified over years. You heard critical or discouraging words enough times that you started to say them to yourself automatically. You no longer needed anyone else to deliver the wound. You learned to deliver it to yourself. Ruling your thoughts means learning to recognize the inner critic's voice distinctly and refusing to give it the final word. This does not mean pretending it does not exist. It means hearing it, acknowledging it as an old pattern, and then consciously choosing a different response. I hear you. I know you think you are protecting me, but I am not going to let fear make this decision. I am going to move forward anyway. The inner critic gets quieter every single time you act in spite of it. Silence it not by fighting it directly, but by moving forward in spite of everything it tells you. Consistent action is the only reliable way to shrink the critic's voice down to something you can live with and eventually rise above. Point 6. Discipline is the highest form of self-love. There is a massive misunderstanding about what discipline actually is. Most people think of discipline as punishment, as deprivation, as the joyless, grinding suppression of everything pleasurable in favor of cold and rigid rules that make life feel like a prison sentence. That is not discipline. That is suffering given a better name. Real discipline is something entirely different. Real discipline is the decision to prioritize your future self over your present impulses. It is choosing, in this moment, to do the thing that the person you want to become would do, not because you hate yourself and are punishing your weaknesses, but because you love yourself enough to invest in your own potential and your own growth. Think about someone you deeply admire. Someone who has built something extraordinary or overcome something that would have broken most people. That person did not get there by following their every impulse or doing whatever felt comfortable in the moment. They got there by making a consistent series of disciplined choices, often when it was hard, often when nobody was watching, often when every part of them wanted to stop. Discipline is the bridge between who you are today and who you are capable of becoming. And ruling your thoughts is the foundation of all discipline, because every disciplined action begins with a disciplined thought. Before you can make the harder and better choice, you have to manage the thoughts that are pulling you toward the easier and lesser one. Discipline starts in the mind. Every single time, without exception, master the mind, and disciplined action follows naturally. Point 7. Break the overthinking cycle and move. There is a specific way that intelligent, ambitious people sabotage themselves that deserves direct and honest attention: overthinking. The inability to stop analyzing, comparing, second-guessing, and catastrophizing until no action is taken and no progress is made anywhere in life. Overthinking is not the same as deep thinking. Deep thinking produces clarity and real solutions. Overthinking produces paralysis and manufactured suffering. The difference is whether your mental activity is moving you toward a decision or keeping you permanently suspended in a painful loop of, but what if this goes wrong? Overthinkers are not confused. They are afraid of making the wrong choice, so they make no choice at all. Afraid of failing, so they never start. Afraid of being judged, so they remain invisible and safe and completely unfulfilled. The overthinking is not the real problem. The overthinking is a symptom of the fear underneath it, and that fear must be addressed directly. To break the overthinking cycle, you need to do 3 things consistently. First, set a deadline for your decision. Most decisions do not need unlimited time to be made well. Give yourself a specific window and commit to deciding when that window closes. Second, ask yourself honestly, am I still gathering useful information, or am I just cycling through the same fears on repeat? If it is the latter, more thinking will not help. Third, remember that almost no decision is permanent. Most choices can be adjusted, reversed, or course-corrected as you go forward and gather real information from real experience. Your mind is a gift. Do not let it become a cage that keeps you from actually living. Point 8. Build mental toughness. Become unbreakable. Mental toughness is not a personality trait that some people are born with and others are simply without. It is a skill, built through repeated practice, exactly like a physical muscle. And like a muscle, it only grows under pressure. Comfort never built anything that lasts. The people you see who seem unbreakable, who face devastating setbacks and keep going, who endure relentless pressure and remain steady, who absorb blow after blow and refuse to quit, they were not born that way. They built that toughness through 1,000 small moments of choosing to continue when everything around them said to stop. Mental toughness is built in the ordinary moments, not the extraordinary ones. It is built when you get out of bed on the morning you absolutely do not feel like it, when you do the work on the day the work feels completely pointless. When you honor your commitments to yourself when nobody is watching and there are no external consequences for breaking them. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when you do not feel like doing it, you are casting a vote for the identity of a mentally tough person. And identity is built through consistent votes, not through declarations or intentions or wishful thinking. You do not become mentally tough by deciding you are mentally tough one morning and feeling inspired. You become mentally tough by acting like a mentally tough person, consistently, day after day, until that is simply and undeniably who you are. Start small. One hard thing each day. One commitment honored. One impulse resisted. Build the muscle slowly and steadily. It will carry you through storms you cannot currently imagine surviving. Point 9. Protect your mental environment fiercely. You like to think that your thoughts are entirely your own, independently formed, original, self-generated. But the truth is that your mental environment is profoundly shaped by your physical and social surroundings. The people around you, the content you consume, the conversations you participate in, the spaces you inhabit, all of these are constantly feeding information into your mind and shaping what you believe is normal, possible, and worth pursuing. If you spend most of your time around people who complain constantly, who settle for mediocrity without question, who see obstacles everywhere and possibilities nowhere, that worldview will seep into you. Not because you are weak or easily influenced. Because you are human, and humans are wired to synchronize with their environment over time. The reverse is equally powerful and true. Spend time around people who are building things, growing things, solving problems, dreaming bigger than the average person thinks is reasonable, and that energy begins to live in you too. You start to see what they see. You start to believe what they believe is possible. You start to attempt what they attempt because it no longer seems unreasonable. This is why ruling your thoughts requires being deeply strategic about your inputs. Who are you spending the most time with? What are they talking about? What are you reading, watching, and listening to? What conversations are you having and what conversations are you consistently avoiding? Curate your mental environment with the same care and intentionality that you would give to any critical investment. Because it is the investment that shapes everything else you will ever do, build, or become in this one life you have been given. Point 10. Play the long game. Your mind is your greatest investment. Everything you do in life is downstream of your mind. Your relationships are shaped by how you think about yourself and others. Your career is shaped by how you think about your capabilities and your worth. Your health is shaped by how you think about your body and your daily habits. Your happiness is shaped by how you interpret your circumstances and the meaning you assign to your experiences. This means that investing in your mental development is the highest leverage investment you can possibly make at any stage of life. It has more impact than any skill, any credential, any financial asset, because it changes the quality of absolutely everything else you touch and everything else you build. Yet most people spend years diligently developing their professional skills, their financial literacy, their physical fitness, while giving almost zero deliberate attention to developing the quality of their own thinking. They lift weights to build their body but do nothing to systematically build their mental strength. They study for certifications but never study how their own mind actually operates. The return on mental investment compounds like no other investment in existence. The clarity you build this year changes every decision you make next year. The discipline you develop this month makes every subsequent goal more achievable. The self-awareness you cultivate this week changes the quality of every relationship and every opportunity you encounter for the rest of your life. You are going to have this mind for the remainder of your existence on this earth. No other investment will pay you back as consistently, as profoundly, or over as long a time horizon. Commit to developing it, take it seriously. Treat it like the most important work you will ever do, because it genuinely, undeniably is conclusion. You were built for more than this. If you have read this far, something in you already knows it is true. Knows that you are capable of more than the life you have been living on autopilot. Knows that the version of you that wakes up tomorrow could be fundamentally different from the version that went to sleep last night, if you make the decision that it will be. You were not built for mediocrity. You were not built to spend your life at the mercy of fear and doubt and the noise of everyone else's expectations projected onto you. You were built with a mind capable of extraordinary things, things that have not happened yet only because you have not yet taken full and deliberate ownership of that mind. Ruling your thoughts is not a destination you arrive at and then rest. It is a practice, a daily, sometimes hourly practice of choosing awareness over autopilot, intention over impulse, growth over comfort, and truth over fear. Some days you will do this brilliantly and feel unstoppable. Other days you will forget entirely and find yourself back in the old patterns, the old spirals, the old stories that have never served you. That is not failure. That is the journey. What matters above everything else is that you return. That you remember who you are committed to becoming, and you come back to that commitment, again and again and again, without shame and without quitting, for the rest of your extraordinary life. The battlefield is your mind. The prize is your life. And you who have read every word of this, who carries this hunger for something more, you have everything you need to win. Now go rule your thoughts. This content exists to serve your growth and your transformation. If it spoke to something real and true inside of you, do not keep it to yourself. Subscribe to the channel right now for more content exactly like this, deep, honest, and practical tools for becoming the person you were always built to be. Hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, join a community of people who are done drifting and ready to take their minds back. More powerful content is coming. Do not miss a single piece of it.